Hi, so my camera died, and I had to wait for it to charge up. So I'm gonna finish now. Question 7. I'm not gonna do a recap because apparently I go down the, um, yeah. Okay, greatest misconceptions about your type. Well, so I'm gonna talk about aspects of the type that receive misconceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so one of my problems is
Yeah.
that ease.
Yeah.
Ease. Hi, Marcus.
Yeah. Ease talks.
Extroverts are often.
Yes. Talk to me. Yes.
Oh, Marcus, go on. Go.
No.
Yeah. So, one of my problems is that extroverts are often thought of as being very shallow, and this I find is not true. Of course, because I am an extrovert, you're going to have to hear that. But the main problem with extroverts is that they are with people feeling that extroverts are shallow is because of works like Susan Cain's, where ugh, where she basically talks about like compares extroverts and introverts and talks about how introverts have this deep inner world and everything, and I think some introverts do, but I think some extroverts do as well. I mean, basically my issue is that all extroverts seem to be likened to, like, as if their dream goal in life is to be a vacuum salesperson or intrude on the lives of others, that is simply what we do. Also, that the world seems to be made for extroverts. I wholly disagree with this, because as an extrovert, the world is not made for extroverts. Many extroverts are not taken seriously because they say something with a smile or in an engaging way. Often people assume that you have to be the bumbling classic INTP professor in order to actually have a clear, cohesive thought in your head. That is very frustrating from the point of view of an extrovert. I know that I've been to conferences where, my questions were brushed over, partially, possibly, because I was a woman, but I actually think it had more to do with the extrovert presentation. That here were a lot of quiet people gathered together who assumed that their quietness was where they got their brilliant ideas. They were not used to rapid fire questioning, which is kind of my bread and butter. And in that, they actually didn't take my questions very seriously. Like, I would notice that they wouldn't fully answer and they wouldn't fully respond. And then when my the person I was with, who was much more quiet, would repeat my question, the same question. It was suddenly answered fully and in depth, and she was applauded for her careful thought. That is an example of something that happens to extroverts a lot. I think people looking at extroverts think that that doesn't happen because they're not really paying attention. Everybody is so busy with their own experience. And I think that's actually an issue with introverts in general, is that in general their own experience is kind of paramount. So looking out to see what's happening to others is difficult. I certainly do get that living as an introvert is hard, and that sometimes you can have parents who force you to do things that you would rather not do, or people who want you to participate in things that you wouldn't want to participate in. But that happens to extroverts too, in a different way. And like, there are negatives to being an extrovert that cause problems as well. The other thing is the greatest misconceptions about NTs. So that's introvert extrovert problems, but as far as being an NT, is that we don't have feelings. We do. We have feelings. And another misconception is that your feelings we assume that either you don't have feelings or that your feelings don't matter. Well, my iPhone doesn't have feelings, but presumably you're watching this, so you do. And your feelings do matter. But there's a caveat. For one thing, I have found that generally people who are Fs, what they mean by your feelings don't matter is that I become responsible for your feelings, and I don't take responsibility for your feelings. That's the difference. If I intend to hurt you, I will own that intention. If I inadvertently hurt you and then maybe explain how that wasn't the intention, well, holding on to your hurt and blaming me for that is not going to go over well. I can understand that you're hurt, and that's okay, but you can own it. You can have your hurt. I don't need to be treated as if I am trying to make you be hurt, unless I actually am. And that actually happens quite rarely. I've known several NTs, and this is not how we go through life. I mean, we NTs are fully capable of realizing that it makes life harder when you go out and try to hurt people. You know, I think most Ts are exactly like that. T does not mean psychopath. F does not mean froofy and loving. In fact, I think I was reading somewhere where ESFJs are actually more likely to be cult leaders than any other type. And that makes perfect sense to me, that a lot of not psychopaths, but a lot of very crazy people would wind up being Fs, because it's value-based, right? They're making value judgments. And taking that merry trail to its nth degree. Values are hard to come up against. Values are hard to win against. Sitting and debating with somebody where they're willing to have that debate influence their values, well, isn't that the definition of a T?
Sam, sorry, this is not a good time to do this, eh?
Hi. So that leads us to question 8. What are the limitations you experience as your own type? As we can see by this video, I tend to get distracted fairly easily. I tend to kind of go off on tangents quite easily, and thus, I took 7 minutes answering question 7. That's one thing. Another thing is, it's actually really hard for me to, when I put my mind to doing something, I actually need a perfect storm of events in order to complete what I try to do. University, doing papers, they were always done overnight. It was fun, because I'd actually enjoy the research part, and I would do, I'd have all the stuff, I'd really want to know. But once I knew, it was really hard to put pen to paper. And so I needed that looming deadline, and it was hugely stressful and anxiety producing, but in the moment it was, and then as soon as it was done, it was great, right? It was great to just say, I'm done. Ha! But, so I actually deal with stress really well. There's mind-numbing stress that I've come through just fine, where I'm always surprised by how people, they work long hours and they talk about how stressful it is, or they do something and they talk about how stressful it is. I'm pretty good at landing on my feet that way. But I certainly put a lot of stress on myself getting stuff done. Actually, not getting stuff done is more accurate. And then, what's your ultimate dream endeavor? This kind of ties into the limitation that I experience. I have realized that I actually need minions. If I have minions, stuff tends to get done. I'm happy to pitch in and work with other people or something like that. Especially if, not necessarily as a yeah, I want people to come and do everything that I need to do so that I can sit and do what I want to do. And then I can hand off the 95% finished thing and say, here, have at her, finish it. Come consult me if you need help. I'll get through. That would be great. Anybody want to send me minions? I'll take them. Just tell them they're going to have to, they're just going to have to be able to do a variety of things and be willing to work with someone.